and eventually begins working through touch alone. He can feel the warmth of his blood seeping out over his hands as he searches for his appendix. As he's working blindly in the hole he had cut into himself, he accidentally cuts his large intestine. Leonid quickly calls for sutures, and he's forced to sew it back together before he can continue to his appendix. 40 minutes have now passed, and his vision begins to blur. His head starts to spin, and he becomes nauseous. He begins to take short 30-second breaks every 4 minutes to regain his focus, using all of his concentration to not black out mid-surgery. After almost an hour of cutting and feeling around his abdomen, Leonid finally locates his appendix. But at that exact moment, he feels his heart rate slow, and his hands begin to lose sensation. He battles back through the brink of blacking out, grips his scalpel, and quickly removes his appendix. As he inspects it, he sees a dark stain at its base, and deduces that if it was not removed, it would have burst within a day. He fights through the vertigo and nausea and sews himself back together. Nearly 2 hours after he had made the initial cut into himself, the surgery was completed, and Leonid, exhausted both mentally and physically, collapses on the table. Over the next few days, he continues to suffer from a high fever, and his colleagues worry that their doctor still won't make it. But on day 5, his fever finally breaks, and in 2 weeks, Leonid is back on his feet performing his regular duties. Operating on yourself and then continuing to do your job as if nothing had happened is, not gonna lie, kind of impressive. And I guess even the Soviet government thought so too, as Leonid was later awarded the Order of the Red Banner of Labor for his bravery and service to the Soviet state. Julianne Kopka. It's December 24th, 1971, and 17-year-old Julianne Kopka is sitting next to her mother as her plane takes off into the sky. A day earlier, Julianne had graduated from high school in Lima, and now she's finally going back home to spend Christmas with her dad. Her parents were world-renowned zoologists who were living at a research station they'd established deep in the Amazon rainforest. The original plan was for Julianne to return to the research station a few days earlier, but wanting to participate in her graduation ceremony, she convinced her mother to stay with her and fly back on Christmas Eve instead. But being Christmas, all the flights out of Lima were booked solid, and the only airline with available seats was LANSA, an airline with a poor reputation for safety. Julianne's father urged his wife not to book with LANSA, but thinking this was a short 1-hour flight, Julianne's mom booked the tickets, and they were now aboard LANSA Flight 508, heading home. Their plane climbs to cruising altitude, and everything seems fine. But roughly 30 minutes after takeoff, Julianne looks out the window and sees dark clouds and flashes of lightning surrounding them. The pilot had chosen to fly directly into a thunderstorm, and soon the entire aircraft began shaking violently. The aircraft is tossed in the storm, and luggage is rattled out of the overhead bins. Passengers begin to scream with every bump as the plane moves more and more erratically. Julianne holds her mother's hand tightly, but both are unable to speak out of fear. Suddenly, the panic in the cabin is drowned out by a massive bang from outside. When Julianne looks back out the window again, she sees that the plane's right wing is on fire. Terrified, she looks to her mom, who looks back at her and calmly says, "That is the end. It's all over." The plane's engines scream louder and louder as it drops into a nosedive, and within seconds, it begins to tear itself apart mid-air. Passengers are flown into the open sky, and when